Perfect. So we're recording from now. So again, thank you very much for joining us. And we'll continue admitting people as they come in. Yeah, welcome to the first Tech Meet of the year. So this theme is not just a technician, and the idea behind it is that we wanted to kind of have a slightly informal networking event that wasn't focused on professional development, but more about the things that people have, you know, as assets to them, but also to the technical community outside of their day jobs. So we do have 3 speakers with us today, as I've mentioned. Some of you will know them, and they will be new to some of you. And just to say that it will be recorded, so people that are just joining now, this session is being recorded and will be shared widely after. And then the chat box, please use it as freely as you want. You can chat to the speakers, you can ask questions, put as many questions in as you like. And if we don't get round to all of them, then we can follow up with them after today's session. And if there's something you want to ask that perhaps you don't want to ask publicly, you can send it directly to me and then I can ask it anonymously for you. And then just to finish off, at the end of the session, there will be a survey that pops up when the meeting's ended. Really valuable if you can just take a few minutes to do this. It's just about future sessions, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. It just means we can shape it to what people are actually wanting within these sessions. So just as an introduction to TechMeet, some of you may have been to TechMeets before. They were introduced by the National Technician Development Centre as a regular forum to keep people in touch throughout lockdown and to make sure people weren't missing out on those kind of opportunities. But moving forward, we're going to try and keep it slightly less professional while still being professional, obviously, and kind of touch on to the more personal side of everybody and what that means to people as a community as well. So as an introduction, I'm Savannah. I know some of you already, some of you I won't know. I lead on marketing, comms and events at the NTDC. And we've also got a few other team members in the call today who might be able to answer questions and things like that on the chat. So we've got Sarah Bacon and we've got Lucia Robinson. And if you scan that QR code there, it will take you to TechMeet where the future dates are there. But just to say that we've now launched the second one, and the theme is to be confirmed. And again, you can shape that if you have something that you're particularly interested in talking about or you particularly want to discuss, kind of have conversations around, completely open to suggestions. So please do pop them in the chat or you can contact me directly with those as well. So I'd like to introduce our speakers today. So most of you will probably know some of these names, but we've got Clare Templey, Lisa Hollands and Kerry Truman with us today. I'm going to get them to do a brief introduction to themselves first, and then we'll kind of talk about their examples of why they are not just a technician. So firstly, Clare, can you give us an introduction, please?
Of course. Hi everyone, I'm Clare Templey. I'm at the University of Nottingham and I'm a technician in physical geography. So I run a teaching laboratory here, teaching all sort of environmental kind of things. My degree is actually in zoology, which I also did at the University of Nottingham, so I've not actually gone very far.
Perfect, thank you very much. And then we've also got Lisa Hollands.
Hiya. So I'm from the University of Sheffield Materials Department. Here I'm a technical team leader looking after mainly materials processing, mainly hot stuff, but it can involve breaking things or grinding or polishing or whatever. I've got a group of 4 people at the moment who work with me, and we support teaching and research activities. We're really busy at the moment.
Very, very busy, as always. Thanks, Lisa. And then finally, we've got Kerry.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be invited to this, Savannah. Thank you. Yeah, my name's Kerry Truman. I've been a technician since the age of 16, and I started in 1987 when I left school, kind of not knowing what I wanted to do. So I ended up being an apprentice technician in engineering. So I went through the HNC engineering degree route, bit of a dabble in sort of biomechanical PhD, but I gave that up and became a team leader over the recent years and gave that back up to become a technical specialist again. So I currently work in a model making environment with our architecture, interior architecture and architecture technology students. So it's a hands-on making environment, but my background's in furniture, electronics, anything to do with this and kind of making stuff really. So yeah, I'm a technical specialist. 36 years as a technician. and still enjoy my life, really. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Kerry. So as we've said, three wonderful speakers that some of you will maybe even be engaged with the activities that they're going to discuss throughout today's session. But yeah, thank you all of you very, very much for joining us, and we're sure it'll be really, really interesting and potentially useful for people to think about how they might be able to implement similar things within their institutions and teams as well. And so Claire, I'm going to come straight back to you, and I've got some of your pictures that you kindly sent us, so it's going to be a lot brighter than we're used to with this weather at the moment. If you could talk to us about your secret life and what that means, and just as a bit of a background before we go into the other speakers.
Yeah, okay, so thanks for putting the pictures together for me. So you can probably see here that one of my big sort of things that I get up to outside of work is sort of arts and crafts kind of things. So I do a lot of different things, from crochet to sewing to, as you'll see, drawing. So I have like a little drawing business, which it's just sort of my hobby. But you can see I do lots of pet portraits, lots of animal work. I actually won Hobbycraft Artist of the Year in 2020 for that picture that's up with the frogs. So I like anything to do with sort of animals. So you can see also some of my photos of some fungi. So I kind of got a little bit known on Twitter end of last year for taking pictures of fungi. And that was because in autumn, I just kind of was going off at lunchtime and having a wander around our campus and taking pictures of fungi, doing a bit of bird watching, all that sort of thing. So as I say, it's really sort of my love for zoology that I like to pursue in my spare time. So I also do agility with my dogs. So I've been watching a bit of Crufts today, watching all the dog jumping going on. And that's what really fuels me. So it's quite nice that I'm a technician in geography because a lot of different disciplines feed into it. So we do some things like invertebrate identification and, as I say, some environmental things. So it feeds into my job in that respect.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ken. A lot of people saying they're loving the drawings. So
hey, you can find me on Facebook.
Yeah, I think I approached you through Twitter, I think, because I've seen all the fungi finding, and I was thinking, oh, that looks quite fun, a lunchtime activity. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And then Lisa, are you okay to share your secret life and why you're not just a technician with us, please?
Okay. Outside of work, I like to do lots of crafting. Started off a lot with knitting, crochet, cross stitch, that sort of thing that you can do in front of the TV. I've developed and done a little bit more glass blowing, lamp working, wood carving, all that sort of stuff. But my favourite at the moment is stained glass making, and I do both the different techniques that are available, that are popular. One is using traditional lead making techniques, a bit like the guy at the bottom on the right. He's got traditional lead, and then most of the other stuff, because it's my favourite way of doing it, is using foil technique, and with that you use soldering and things. I've started doing a little bit of glass painting on those as well, so they're really good. I like making birds. Okay. As you can see, there's lots of birds. Other than that, I've got a bit of a special interest in mental health, and that helps sort of guide some of my activities as well as me finding them useful.
Lovely, thank you very much, Lisa. And yeah, I think we can all agree, very, very beautiful birds. Quite a few comments again saying magpies are my favourite, kingfisher is fantastic. Jan feels very boring and unartistic now. I'm sure you're not, Jan. You need to tap into what these guys are doing at the end of this session, and you'll feel exactly the same. And then Kerry, I'm going to get you finally to do the same with your secret life, please.
I don't think my photos are as visually as impressive as Claire's or Lisa's, but I think when I don't know. I mean, listening to our sort of Claire and Lisa kind of form their craft at home, I think I'm very heavily sort of directed by what I do at work, so I kind of find opportunity that you know, I'm a technician in the day, but it also informs how I am as a person, quite ironically, that, you know, I do stuff at work which is kind of very hands-on physical making, but then it kind of inspires me to take something home, to develop that and then become and repackage it into something that then I bring back into work and kind of share, or kind of, you know, sort of pass on to other people within my kind of environment, or the student environment, or whatever. But so some of the photos you see are not of objects as such, but I've got a kind of a passion for everything. And the one at the top on the right is my shed, which I've just recently tidied up. So in the shed, there's willow, there's 3D printing, there's a CNC, there's a laser cutter, there's a box of axes and spoon carving tools. And all of those are a moment in kind of my life, in that I'll go home one day and I'll get the spoons out, or I'll go home another and get some 3D printing going. So I've kind of got this very strange sort of relationship with work becoming me as a person. So I'm clearly more than a technician, I get that, but I'm one of these people that struggles to put value on what I do. Maybe it's imposter syndrome or whatever, but I think everything I do, I do, and then to get some validation, I reshare. And that's kind of where the technician value comes in. And up there on the left with some willow weaving, which I did with Clare in the uni of kind of technicians, I came along with 2 student helpers, which I'm, again, something that Lisa mentioned, the mental health aspect and how I use this as a mental health tool for myself. I do include the students, and I have student support workers that I take with me to all of these sessions to help facilitate and to help me just sit back and let them do a bit of work. But so basically anything that I can get my hands on that moves, shapes, forms, suddenly becomes a session that then I pass on and kind of pass that forward, if you like. So I get around. The one in the bottom right was at Kiel. Down at the bottom there, I went to Kiel as a person that was invited like this to talk to their technicians about well-being, but also run a session on willow weaving. And literally, I'm only a little bit better than you, but I'm very good at facilitating, but also I like that as my well-being. So yeah, my work heavily informs my person, and then my person then reinforms my technician day, if that makes sense. So yeah, and there on just below the 2 knives that I made, I didn't make the steel, I made the wood, and then I gifted them because I put no value into it, so I give them away. There's the Text Connect, and maybe some of you have met me from Text Connect, or aware of Text Connect, which is a Friday community that I found, and some of us found in lockdown for ourselves. It's become a very powerful mental health and well-being kind of crutch, if you like, for me. And yeah, that's become a passion of mine as well. That sharing, that ability to share, is very powerful as a technician. So you carry a lot from home or your person to your day, and it's a strange line sometimes. I don't know if anyone feels that, but yeah, I'll kind of stop talking because my photos aren't as exciting as everybody else's.
They're really excited, and loads of different comments in the chat about your facilitation, and also about what you're actually doing in the craftsmanship on that. Someone has asked, how do you join? So Kerry, I don't know if you want to take a minute to put a link in there or some more information.
Yeah, I find that, or it'll become part of something that I pass to you, Savannah, to push out. But you'll find me on Twitter, and there's a link in my profile. But Fridays is something that we can pass forward if you fancy coming along.
I'll share information on Text Connects when I send up a follow-up email with the recording and things. So yeah, thank you again, Kerry. And I think it's interesting you say that the line becomes blurred, because I was speaking to a technician who was working in Sheffield. Lisa, I believe you line managed Tez. And she was saying how much of a creative bunch technicians often are, but it's often that people don't really see that aspect of it. So yeah, I think today will be particularly interesting to hear people's contributions as well. And yeah, just a final image there with a few that might not have made it before I stop sharing my screen and we can start having a bit more of a conversation. But yeah, beautiful pictures. And Lisa, do you want to explain what the stars are? The glass stars on the left-hand side.
Yeah, so at Christmas, every Christmas I make glass stars for each of my superstars. So technical superstars from my team and anybody else within the wider team that I think have gone above and beyond, I make a star each for them. So I've done it for the past 3 years, I think now. Each year is totally different. So I make a different star each year, usually on the same sort of theme. So those ones were all identical, but the other ones that I've made are not identical, but they're similar with different colours and things. But yeah, so a few people have got a number of stars from me.
And Claire just said that she wants to work for you, so maybe you can we can get a bit of a sharing situation going on. I'm going to stop sharing for everybody so I can see everybody's faces. But yeah, thank you very much for sharing that, everyone. And obviously we had a conversation before we had this meeting today, and we ended up organically talking a lot about mental health and kind of the impact of this and the impact of having these things outside of your day-to-day job, and what it's meant for you, but also for your team. So I don't know if Claire or Kerry, you want to start with a contribution on that?
Sure. Well, we introduced mental health first aid at University of Nottingham, and I think I was one of the first people that went through the training for that. And I kind of brought it back to our department, and I've ended up organising more training for people in our department, and I've become the mental health champion for our department. So it's something that I feel kind of strongly about. But personally, doing things like artwork helps myself in my mental health because I do suffer with anxiety. It's something that I've got better coping mechanisms with as I've got older, and artwork is one of those things that really helps with that because, you know, it takes you out of your own head, as it were. You're just concentrating on what you're doing. And even, as I say, going for a walk at lunchtime, that helps as well because you're just out of the department, off having a look at some nice things. So yeah, it's also quite nice as well because I've sort of joined up with other networks. So I've joined the hedgehog friendly group here that do litter picking. So it's quite nice for your mental health to be feeding into something like that where, you know, there's obvious benefits.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing of having it on campus as well, isn't it? That it becomes slightly larger than just for yourself. Yeah, thank you, Claire. And then Kerry, I think you had kind of a similar situation when it had an impact on you as well.
What my mental well-being or my health well-being? Yeah, because I think just prior to lockdown, I became a technical team leader, and it was an interesting time, wasn't it? Lockdown. So I felt I coped well with the task and the challenge, but I think I struggled with kind of the person management of the role. So I had my own little breakdown about a year and a bit ago, and I found that what it was is that the job that I do and the kind of the love for the job had disappeared, but what was all had disappeared was just the student engagement aspect of my day. And it's massive in that, one, they validate you, but also you have an enjoyable time kind of supporting them. And I think making choices at the right time for yourself before you get to the point I did is a powerful thing to do. And from that point that, prior to, went back to going into lockdown, I think what I was after was kind of this network of support. And if I didn't always find it within the team that I was working with, so I went elsewhere. Text Connect was developed, and 2.5 years later, every Friday it pops up whether I'm there or not. And invariably, if Angela's in the room, Angela kind of steers that every Friday. But it's a nice space where you get validation, but also you get reassurance. So I think, I've learned a lot of lessons about myself, about my brain, about the way I work as a person, and I'm starting to accept it better. But I find students are powerful muse sometimes in that you give them an idea and they give it back, and then you give it back. And that's why I've got this great student community like the NTU Makers community that I've got. I take students whenever I can with me. And it's funny, isn't it, that sometimes you don't find that within your own team, but you find it within the community that you work with. That's what I'll say. It's a university community, but it's more than the staff. So yeah, and I think, I've got a workshop now that I run. There's a few of us in there, but every day I've got a student each morning and afternoon that come in to help the students from other courses. So I've kind of got this kind of nice day job again. That's honest of it. But yeah, the craft side of things, it's just something that has always been there, but you don't know you need it until you need it, or in COVID it gets taken away from you, doesn't it? That you don't have this stuff. So I don't know if that's answered your question, Savannah, but
yeah, no, that was a great answer. And yeah, I think some people might also think, you know, oh, I'm not very creative, maybe, you know, how can I do something similar? But I think a lot of it comes down to almost play, doesn't it?
Yeah, and also I think it's just, don't worry about it, just do it. And I think if you're in an institute where you just need to take a chance, just take the chance because it's needed. I mean, anything you do that's valid for yourself is needed anyway. But if you can include other people that are kind of wanting this, or indeed the student community that have got sometimes a better voice than us or a bigger voice, then just mix it all in and just do things. And if it's not right, you're going to get told quicker than you are if it's right, aren't you? And sometimes I might speak a little bit provocatively because I'm a bit of a wild card sometimes, but I feel like I'm also very honest about my mental health, which is a good place to be, I think, isn't it? Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. And it's opening up those conversations, I think, is key to allowing other people have that platform to do the same. Thank you very much. And we do have a question in here, which is any tips on how others could get similar things going in their universities? So I don't know if Lisa, you want to suggest this? I know you run the craft sessions in Sheffield. Did you launch that? How did that start?
So I decided that I realised that a fair few people actually liked doing crafts. So I opened it up to, you know, knitting, crochet, cross stitch, you know, if you wanted to do drawing or card making or whatever you wanted to do, and to also encourage people to have a lunch break. I called crafty lunches, so join us for a crafty lunch. And then we opened it up where people could just bring their own little projects, or if they didn't have any projects, they could come and learn how to do something, because somebody there is always willing to share. Because I found that with crafty people, same as Kerry was saying, is that we do like to share our knowledge. We find out how to do it. We're learning as we go along, but we're happy enough to kind of share that sort of stuff out as well. So it's a nice way of getting everybody together, and just not work chatting, but, you know, just having chats. And it is really good for people's mental health. I think everybody on this call has sort of realised that. So I just I tied it in to start off with. I found out my head of department did knitting, so I contacted her and just said, I'm thinking about starting a craft club at lunchtime. What do you think? She said, yeah, go ahead, do it. So that's what I've done.
Yeah, so probably the advice there is just kind of get it done. As long as you've
got do it.
Yeah, just do it. Even
ask for permission. Asking for permission is for wimps. Just do things first, and then
fabulous. And then I don't know if this applies to any of our three panelists today, but it could be perhaps something that somebody else that's with us can answer. But we have a question here for technicians with little kids. What kind of activities would you recommend? It's hard to find the time away from kids, but would love to join some activity classes.
Yeah, I mean, I've got two children, one's 10 and one's 7, if that's kind of the relevant age group. I mean, does the question refer to like being able to do stuff working from home, or is it actually including the children within kind of activities? Because my two get thrown into everything. They don't always like it, but they're kind of your guinea pigs as well. So I think if you can engage a 10-year-old, you can engage an adult. So I think it's a good thing to try. But yeah, if it means like friendly activities, I think if you take something like I do, for example, and you plaster cast a thing, but we break it down into mark making into clay, and then showing them how to make the plaster from water and plaster, you can kind of bring any making to a level, I think, that involves children as such, to the point where I've even volunteered to do the willow weaving that I do at my daughter's primary school with my 6 and 7-year-old daughter's friends. And what you do is you take what's visually or conversationally an instruction and break it down into a piece of paper, or you get the tutor or the teachers to help you with that. So maybe it's just understanding the language of instruction as well that you need with kids, because they will pick up the stuff that I do. It's just needs framing. So I don't know what the question quite means. If I can be any more help, then definitely I've got 2 children that become guinea pigs. Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah. Sorry, Lisa.
Sorry, the involvement in that. Sorry, Lisa, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, I actually did some really nice work with, in a previous life of mine, I did train as a primary school teacher. Realised I was a bit rubbish at it, but that's a different conversation, I think. But I did start things like gardening clubs, because kids actually really love doing that sort of stuff. Gardening, growing things, and then you can expand on that to if you're growing food, you know, you can get on to starting to do some cooking and stuff with them. There's all sorts of things like that you can do, but nature walks, you know, just like what Clare does, nature walks, going out, you can pick things, as long as they're not endangered, I guess. You know, and press flowers, and then, or pick up leaves and make a picture out of them, or all sorts of things that you can do with kids. Yeah.
Yeah, really good. And Kerry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything, I mean, we all do things in our day job that we find a little bit less interesting because we do them so often, that you can take home, you know, because I've got 3D printing that I show the kids and they're interested, then they're not. So I think everything that you do in your own days is of value to teach your own children as well. And they all see me spoon carving in the kitchen at night. And like I say, it's one of those things that I think what you see in a day doesn't always value with yourself, but it will with someone else if you just slightly repackage it. And that's something to maybe just get someone like me to look at what you do and go, oh yeah, that's interesting. And so go to someone else that doesn't do your role and ask them, because I feel that you know, there'll be something that we all do that you can share with anybody. It's just, you need that, like Lisa or somebody said, just do it and just ask someone what they think and do it anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you make about it might not seem interesting to you when it's, you know, day in, day out, you know, the standard of the day. But coming from a non-technical background, whenever I've done, you know, a technician-led facility tour or something like that, I find it all really, really interesting, because it's not what I'm doing day to day. And I think that will, you know, transfer to people as well.
But we make good facilitators, don't we, technicians? And even if you don't know what you're doing, we can look like we do. And that's kind of the beauty of our role. No offense to anyone that doesn't know what they're doing. But sometimes I'm very honest with what I do with students, in that, can I cast these mushrooms in alginate? Yeah, I've never done it, but I can base it on some sort of assumption of what will happen and just do it anyway. And I think you think too much about things that you do and you don't do them. And you've got to give time for yourself to do it. So just don't worry about it. Just do things and, you know, throw caution to the wind. And if it doesn't work, learn, move on, and do it again in a different way. And that's kind of where I've been with everything I've done. The first time I go out to see Clare, I'm not that good at what I do, but yeah, next time I'll be different. And if someone's left-handed and not right-handed, next time I'll be different. So yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's all a learning curve. And yeah, I think as well, into going back to the question about you know, having children and wondering how to do it with that, I think as well, if there's a network, I'm saying this from the perspective of not being a parent, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but by creating a network, a lot of the children that may attend will come with an adult, and then it allows you to have that kind of networking opportunity, you know, without to, yeah. And then Claire, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. I don't have kids, so I can't tell you from personal experience. But I've just been thinking about some of our PhD students recently went out and did outreach work. Some of that was at local libraries where members of the public could go. And I know some of the technicians that went and did like science in the park at Wallerton Hall. So you can always look out for the outreach work that your university is doing, because that'll be based for children, so there might be kind of hands-on things that they can go and have a go at, because I know our PhDs were doing things like, you know, counting rings on trees and rubbing on the bark, and one of them was doing like some invertebrate identification, like picking out these pictures of bugs out of fake rivers, as it were, and all sorts. So yeah, you can look at things like that are being put on in your community.
Yeah, and a lot of the time they'll already be existing. It's just kind of searching them out, isn't it? And then Claire, I'm going to keep you on because you've made a comment there about, I'm trying to find it again, you read once that many technicians are neurodiverse and that you're very creative people, often in the background working away. And Heated, which is our training arm, ran a diversity networking event back in December, which some of you will have attended. And Lawrence Dawkins Hall from Leicester ran a session on that. And that was something that, you know, people were it was really resonating with a lot of the attendees of that meeting, saying that they absolutely understood that they often take a step back, but actually there's a lot of creativity there. Do you find that you found that with people you're working with? Is that something that you've found kind of throughout your career?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of technicians are people that they don't necessarily want to be like academics who are, you know, leading things or, you know, writing papers and whatnot. They want to be the people that are more hands-on in the background. And as I say, that's something that I've read about being neurodiverse, is more being hands-on than being sat reading papers and writing reports and what have you. So it's something I definitely identify with, both personally and through technicians I've met, because I'm chair of our technicians network here. So I've been meeting more and more technicians across our university, and they're always very hands-on people who want to be, you know, finding solutions to problems and being creative. And you can just identify that there's those similarities between technicians quite a lot of the time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, Lisa, you'd said something when we've spoken previously about learning new skills in your hobbies that you've then transferred to your work. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, so during the day, I melt glass. Okay, so it's hot glass, and all we do is produce blocks and discs and stuff like that. I like colour and things like that, so the cold working of the glass it's another side of it. But I found that since starting the glass making, the stained glass making, I've got sort of a bit more of a wider appreciation of how the colours are made, which then I can share with the students during some of the outreach stuff that I do sometimes, or we have prospective students coming in and my demo's the big showy demo. So I bring in a lot of colour to do with that. But also some of the techniques that I learned during glass making, the stained glass making, like glass cutting and things like that, easy ways of doing that sort of thing I've started using when people have come to say to me, oh, how would I cut this? So, right, okay, we do it like this, and it's an easy thing for me to show them how to do. So I've shared some of that sort of thing. And I've recently got involved with a student who's looking at slug slime, of all things. It's great stuff, apparently, and a brilliant material. So she's looking at slug slime and making kind of analogues and things like that. However, one of the things that she wanted to do was she knew that when slugs go over rough ground, they produce a different sort of slime, apparently. Who knew? And she wanted to have them travelling over something transparent where she could see underneath if it was coming from a different area or something anyway. So some of the stuff that I've learned, I can make her some textures now. So I've dabbled with fusing glass as well. So I can help her make some textures, or actually I've told her where to buy some stuff from as well. So that's kind of been useful. I will be interested to find out what she finds out about slugs. Not that I like them, but
you'll be a slug pro by the end of it.
Not me.
Yeah, you'll have to let us know, and we can let everybody know the outcome of that. Yeah, thank you, Lisa, and yeah, great to hear that things are transferable across your personal and professional life, and I think that's true to lots of things. And there's quite a lot of people in the chat function talking about outreach activities. So I don't know, people, please feel free if you do want to unmute and have that conversation on camera, you're more than welcome to. Alternatively, we can keep it on the chat. So if you just raise your hand or come off mic at any point, you're absolutely fine. But Kerry, you've said that you've done quite a lot of outreach. I don't know if you've seen the chats, you want to answer any of those questions.
Yeah, I mean, outreach comes in many forms. Outreach for myself to network and collaborate, or with other technical staff. But I mean, from kind of a going into local schools sort of system, over the years, I kind of met what's called now our Sense team of community engagement, and sort of kind of the people that bring in the summer school children and local area schools. And if you can get yourself involved with them as a facilitator for something, then that becomes quite a little easy step in. But I've got a very good footprint within like the national DT community. So I know a lot of teachers that welcome online A-level support, for example. And I've got a student actually working in the workshop at the moment, a guy on first year architecture. He approached me after his induction and said, "Hi, Kerry, you don't remember me?" I went, "No." I said, "Well, you mentored me in lockdown." So he's actually it's been a mentee in lockdown that's now come onto our course, and now he's a workshop support student on a Wednesday morning. So that's kind of a nice circle of outreach there that no one knows about that. So that's kind of an hidden metric that is very valuable to the school, but that's how powerful it can be. But if you step back to year 9, when they're pre-option takers, and you know schools that want to know about design technology, because it needs all the help it can get from those of us that can, then go into the schools and offer a live session based around what you do as a job. And you have 25 kids making lamps or whatever they want to do with you. And that's kind of the outreach that I've done as well. But I've found more recent years just the outreach for myself in collaborative work with other technicians. So I've been to Queen's University Belfast to do a session about Text Connect, and we had a live hybrid moment with the community with other technicians from Ireland and the island of Ireland. So that is outreach as well, isn't it? Surely, but that's very hard to get if you have. So I think Lisa said, just do it and just say it's something, align it to something that's an agenda, because the university all has an agenda, be it outreach, be it community investment, be it personal kind of well-being, be it anything that is aligned, and technician commitment. That's one to align it to. So yeah. I think I've done lots of things, and I'm very hard to pin down quite clearly in some things. So feel free to ask me after or another time.
Perfect. Thank you, Kerry. And yeah, really good examples there that outreach can mean a lot of different things to different people. But does anybody else have experience with outreach, whether that be in schools or technical outreach in terms of careers?
I mean, I will just say one quick thing, sorry, Savannah, that if you've become sort of aware of the Text Connect community, there's a guy, I've got his name now, what's his name, Angela? He's going to kill me. He nominated me as well for an award. Yeah. I should know his name.
Got out my head too.
Yeah, well, anyway, he specifically had some funding to do a primary school level kind of technician showcase. Yeah. It's because I'm talking and I'm thinking about many things, and my ADHD kind of brain that you've talked about there, Claire, is kind of kicking in. I'm struggling to concentrate. I'll find that out, but basically, yeah, we do it to promote ourselves, don't we? But we also kind of have within our own community that I've met people that are doing their own things to promote it within various levels of education. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Russell Wilson.
Oh yeah, so Russell.
Yes.
Russell's exhibition. Yeah, so that
yes.
exhibition is running until June or July this year. That was so the NTDC offer funding once a year. So I was wondering if it was him. I thought no, that's not. It wasn't. I think it was primary and secondary as well. So it was for parents, teachers, students, and yeah, we offer funding for an outreach project once a year. So he had the funding, and also Karen Bailey-Smith at Hallam ran something as well for the outreach funding. But yeah, it's a virtual exhibition. I will ask someone in my team to drop a link in the chat box to Russell's virtual exhibition. And yeah, it's really interesting. You can go around and there's lots of contributions from different people. So yeah, there's lots of ways for people to get involved. And then Karen Bailey-Smith as well. I'm not sure if she's on the call today, but she leads on technical development at Sheffield Hallam. She also secured the funding last year, and she did an open careers day for managers around technical careers at Hallam. So kind of a mini careers open day for technical careers. So it can really go in a lot of different directions, I think, and kind of be whatever you make it, and it doesn't have to necessarily be funded either.
I think also if you can include students within that kind of outreach offer, then that's kind of a powerful statement as well. So just say you're taking 2 of your product design students out into a local school, what they're going to, obviously there's a risk assessment and things like that you've got to sort. But I think if you can involve students as part of the offer, that's quite a powerful kind of momentum to any idea you might have about outreach as well, I think, in my opinion anyway.
No, definitely agree. So yeah, thank you for that. And Sarah's just put a link to that if people want to take a look at it, and you can kind of go around and tour, and some of you might have even contributed to it, so you might be in there. But yeah, it's fantastic and a good way to get the message out to a lot of schools without having to be there in person as well. And then we've got a few comments here. I think somebody was mentioning the if you have anyone working with the Science Museum, with the Technicians Gallery down in London, and they've created activities for school-age students, so it could be worth chatting to them to get ideas for more localised schools and outreach programmes. So yeah, that is based in London, so obviously depending where you are, it might be that it applies to kind of different areas. And then we've got Claire, you've said something about Pint of Science and Soapbox Science. Do you want to tell us what that is? Because I don't actually know what that is, embarrassingly.
So Pint of Science is something where researchers, postgrads, academics, could be technicians, whatever, go out into the community, and it'll be in like pubs or restaurants or whatever, and there's events, and it's over a couple of weeks each year, and they'll do talks about, their science but pitched at like the layperson. So there's that sort of thing you can get involved with. And Soapbox Science was something I looked at doing, didn't end up doing, but I know someone else did in our school. And it's just sort of literally as it sounds, like being on your soapbox. So it's people that go along, they give a talk out in the public about what they get up to, and then people come that are walking past and just stand and listen. And so there's just all those sorts of things I was just popping into my head about things you can get involved with. And another thing that popped into my head just then after writing that was about the Christmas lectures. So that's another thing where it's very creative and technicians can apply to be on that. I applied for it last year. I did get an interview, but I didn't get on it last year, but hopefully I'll try again this year. But it's again one of those things where technicians being creatives, they want your involvement in the show, going on and making things. And that's something that, as I say, personally, I'm going to be looking out for it again, try again.
I think the Christmas lectures are a key one, and actually there's so many different opportunities depending on what you're interested in, isn't there, and the kind of aim that you've got. I think Tez is in the call because she's put a love heart in the chat, and I'm assuming that's because and Claire, I'm sorry about this, but she did successfully get onto the Christmas lectures this year, if you'll forgive us. So Tez, I don't know if you want to pop on and have a quick talk about that. Completely fine. If not, you can.
I'm leaving now. That's
Claire's had enough, so Claire's going to log off because of that. So yeah, I'm not sure if Tez is hearing, but yeah, I can see you there. Hi, Tez.
Hello. Yes, I got to go this year, and it was wonderful. And I think Savannah's heard me talk about this a lot, as has Lisa. It's the fact that we get to work really hard and do all these create the demos, and then they let us be the ones to wheel them on, and like you can see us wandering, or the demo team, the people who built them, wandering off and on with those demos. I just think they're really excellent and a fantastic thing for showing people what technicians do a little bit and things like that. So it's good. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, so Claire, you'll have to reapply. You can go head to head against Tez next.
Oh God, yeah, I want to go back. I want them to have me back.
Maybe you can help each other.
Hey, back off, I'm watching you now.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Tez. And that was one of the key things when we spoke about it previously, was that technicians are often in the background, but actually at the Christmas lectures, you're on stage and you're bringing out the things that you've worked on. And I think that's a wonderful message to the young people that are in the audience, but also to technicians that are quite clearly all battling for the place to be on the Christmas lectures. So yeah, thank you about that. And Lucia's popped a link into there about when we spoke to Tez previously about her time at the Christmas lectures as well. So we've had something else here from Angela, an outreach one that you do at Leeds. Angela, do you know much about that? Oh, I think she's speaking to someone in real life, not on the call. So we'll move past that. But then also, I think we had something up here about, so Sarah's put in the IST, which is the Institute of Science and Technology. They've got a women in tech roles, basically a group for women in tech. So it is women in STEAM. So it does include the arts as well, but they're available. They're a resource that are available for schools, teachers, parents, colleges, places like that if they want them. So they've got a showcase at the moment, but they're always after other people to contribute. So it's for, young women and girls to kind of see people in these roles that perhaps they haven't historically seen, as I'm sure many of us are aware, and there's a link to that in the chat as well. Angela, I don't know if you can hear us again. I think you were speaking to somebody, but the Be Curious outreach programme, do you want to expand on that?
Well, it's just something I guess we do at University of Leeds. I didn't realise it wasn't, I don't know if people do it elsewhere, but we basically have lots of events running across campus that people can, public can come into, or potential students, anybody. But there's just loads of stuff going on all the time. So it's usually on one day, but sometimes they do 2 days. But it's on a Saturday as well sometimes. So it's just, I mean, the building, I don't know if you've been to Leeds, is the Parkinson building, which is like the main building that's on the logo. So they have all of it, quite a lot going in there, but it's also spread out all over campus, trying to get people engaged with different activities. Could be over in the dental institute, for instance, or over at the arts, or in the science, science bits. So it's just all sorts of things, just trying to bring research out to show the public, as well as doing other stuff like that, like a grip machine who's got the strongest grip that day, that sort of silly stuff like that, things like that. Others do FPS, the biology people, they have a reaction timer, so you have to press the lights that go off. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those to keep people fit. That's normally popular. There's always a queue for that one. So you can see how many of the lights they can hit, that sort of thing, reactions. So I'm gabbling now. But it's just basically getting the public in, getting them interested, try and get them interested partly in some of the stuff that there's research that's ongoing, as well as just getting people through the door, just say, oh, I'll go with this, so show off that sort of thing. But there's lots of different things going on. People look on the website. I don't know if they've got it up for this year yet, but I normally go along every year, but I haven't thought to really get involved because I've never had the time. But thinking of that, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should, just for a change. There must be something we could do as technicians, for technicians, to showcase technicians, whereas technicians are involved in it, but not actually it's more to showcase everybody else, if you see what I mean. So definitely. Anyhow, go on.
Thank you for sharing that, Angela. And I'm sure that there's a lot of different initiatives that are similar, or kind of take inspiration from one another that's similar. I can see somebody saying that we have that at Sheffield on Discovery Night, so that sounds like quite a similar thing where you can kind of come and have a go at things. And I guess it kind of crosses over into the Sainsbury Gallery, the Technicians Gallery, in terms of having a look and seeing how things work, just on a slightly smaller scale, I'm assuming. So we're all coming to the end of the session today. So is there anything that our 3 panelists want to discuss that we've not covered yet, that we had talked about previously?
I mean, I'll just say one thing that's popped into my mind. I think back to what we've been talking about, just doing things. I think I remember when I reflect on when I first got involved really with the technician commitment side of things, and I think I was on holiday, and I sent Kelly Veer a message, and I said, oh, if you ever need anything, Kelly, let me know. And then from there it becomes kind of this snowball of kind of opportunity. So I think back to what we're trying to say is just send a message to somebody, because invariably they're waiting for a message. To not that message that you're about to send, but some inspiration behind that message that they're about to receive. And I had one this morning from a parent of a young gentleman that's coming on to one of our courses who's struggling with his A-levels, and he wants some workshop space. So I'm just going to approach that in a mentoring capacity, and that's how he asked, and I said yes or no, don't I? So I feel like if you're a cheeky person, which we all are a little bit, just ask a question. And invariably someone will go, yeah, all right. And it leads to opportunity. And I've been very fortunate in my opportunities, because I'm a little bit cheekier than most maybe, but also I've met a lot of wonderful people that aren't the ones I work with all the time. which is fun. So yeah, ask the question and just do it. That's what I'd say. Or don't ask the question, just do it. And ask the question. Ask the question for yourself.
Agreeing with you there. Lisa's got to say, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'll follow on from Kerry really, because I was going to say very similar things in that, you know, do follow up on making these links, you know. So me and Kerry we met each other on Twitter. There's other people that have just dropped me a line, and you know, if you just follow that up, then you're creating these links, you know, people that you can then go and visit, that can come and do things here, like Kerry coming and doing his willow weaving here for us as technicians. There's all these sorts of communities you can be building. But also if you're kind of thinking about, oh, well, you know, we don't have clubs or groups or whatever, then just make it yourself if it doesn't exist. You know, we didn't have this mental health group in my department, so I just put that together. I said in the chat about some of us were talking about, oh, it'd be nice if we could tidy up our quad area, so I'm looking at making a gardening club. You know, if you're wanting like a crafting club, then just talk about it with your colleagues and, you know, do it.
Yeah, that's a great point about you know, if it doesn't already exist, then you can be the driving force in that. It's quite similar to speaking to people that are considering higher education as students and saying, you know, if there's not a society, you can create it. Like you are able to do that and then be the person that does that. Yeah, thank you for that, Claire. I have had an anonymous question in that said, as a technician, we tend to be a service provider, so workload can change and you're not in control. How do you cope? Kerry's laughing.
Yeah, I was off mute then. Sorry about that. I think this is back to my brain, and I've come to the conclusion that I've got this kind of, I can juggle lots of things and I can manage things. I'm not very organized, which is probably why I fell down as a team leader. But I can deal with lots of fire. So I think there's no easy way to saying how to control it. But if you attach yourself to it and you want to do it, you'll do it. And I think that's it. And I think I do a bit extracurricular because that's how I frame it, because it becomes more for me as well. My wife's very understanding and lets me stay on a Monday for Monday Makers. And this week I set some final year photography student sessions up, but also I did some spoon carving with some final years that are struggling with their own kind of anxiety and mental health. So I think if you want to do it, you'll do it. But also the juggling, I get it. It's difficult. And I think sometimes it does creep into your life. And this is what I'm saying. This is where your life and your work, if they're very closely interwoven like mine are, it becomes one big chaos, I think. So I don't know if I'm helping with that question, actually. I think I'll stop talking. But I think my brain, yeah, but I think, no, if you find a lot of passion, I think you do cope. And it's different with coping with other people's problems, isn't it? Because to be busy with other people and having fun is a nice problem to have, but how you fit that within your role, I don't know. Maybe we'll talk outside. If you want to get in touch with me, I'll be very, you know, come along on a Friday to what we talk about on a Friday, what our weeks are like. But always, whoever that anonymous person is, if they don't want to be anonymous, that's fair enough. Get in touch, and I think I'll happily talk to somebody.
Yeah,
I'd say that if you're anything like me as well, you're probably aware of when your sort of peaks and troughs are throughout the year. So when you're likely to be more busy and less busy. So I can schedule in to be doing more stuff over like summer when I'm a bit less busy with teaching or whatever. There's obviously things that crop up that are out of your control, as you say. But hopefully none of us feel we're like an individual as such. We're all within a team, even if that's, you know, if you're in a small team, I'm only one of 5 in my school, or you might be like the sole one, but you're one of many technicians in the university. So there's hopefully other people you can rely on to sort of help you out if you're too busy. So with being chair of the Technicians Network, I've put together a working group. So if I was too busy, I could rely on other people at some points.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. And then I think we're probably going to have to wrap up for today. It looks like we could have done a slightly longer session because everyone's you know, really contributed. So thank you to everybody that was attending today, and especially to our speakers for contributing so much. If there are any questions that I pick up in the chat that we didn't get to that I think are going to be important, I'll forward them on to the speakers, and if that's okay with you three, and if you're able to answer those, then I can send that back out to all the attendees today. But yeah, lots of people in the chat function saying thank you. I'm going to pop a link into the next TechMeet, and then within that survey, the follow-up survey, there will be, you know, a suggestion kind of topic where you can suggest topics that interest you. It can be anything. So if people are interested in it and want to have that conversation, then, you know, let's get that started. And again, Kerry, if you want to, if you're happy with me to share the information about your Tech Connect, then I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, anything you like, yeah, anything that is valuable to anybody that can reach out and just get in touch with people, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, and I will follow up with just an email with some information as well that you can contact us if you do have any questions. But yeah, once again, thank you very much for all joining us, and hope you have a fantastic rest of the day.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.